Well, then the Champions League final is now over. So let's have a look at everything that went on. This is probably one of the worst Champions League finals that has ever happened realistically. It's the lowest ever possession of a team in a Champions League final for Arsenal, obviously breaking the record. The record was previously held by Arsenal in their first Champions League final all the way back in 2006. Now, I want to say the key difference there is that Wenger was playing with a man down and also against one of the best teams ever, you know, while Mikel Arteta chose to play that way and kind of played that way from the outset. Obviously, Havertz scored early. It was a great finish, great goal. I know a lot of people were calling for saying that should have been a handball from Trossard. He's like, this, it's not a handball. It really isn't a handball. What is a handball is Saka hitting the ball twice with his hands while the referee is right there and can see it really clearly. That is baffling. I mean, the referee, honestly, I think it was kind of crazy. There was some things that he got spot on, some things he got pretty wrong. In terms of in favour of PSG, I think he did blow the whistle maybe a tad too early for the corner. I think maybe it should, because it was only about 30 seconds. However, 95% of teams in the first half are saying, come on, got a corner, let's push on, let's take this quickly. Instead, no, Arsenal want to time waste, and Mosquera gets a yellow card early in the second half, for time wasting. There's so much time left. I think the way that Arsenal were playing was ridiculous. I was right. If we're going to put it back to the prediction, I was wrong ultimately on the score completely. I got the winner correct, but I said it'd be 4-1 PSG. It was nowhere near to that. But I did say Arsenal were definitely going to concede a penalty here. I said Vitinha would score it. The reason I thought Vitinha was the penalty taker is because the last penalty that I saw them take was one against Spurs that Vitinha took. Because Dembele, I think, was injured, it wasn't on the pitch, and also against Arsenal that I saw Vitinha take because Ousmane Dembele was injured and not on the pitch. You know, ultimately after all this, I don't think there should be anyone on this pitch that should really be going after a Ballon d'Or, especially not Ousmane Dembele, who had 9 league starts in the end. That is not someone who should be winning a Ballon d'Or by any means at all. I wasn't able to catch the full game of this. I missed, I think, almost all of the first half. And most of the second half, but I did get to watch almost all of the extra time, and I watched the added time of the second half. But I've also seen so many clips of it, you know, and it just seemed like Arsenal, the referee just didn't want to take anything. The referee didn't want to take anything from Arsenal, and it's just all the stuff they've been getting away with in the league all season. The referee was like, today I don't want to let them get away with that, and that is fair enough, because obviously they should not have been getting away with it. And I said a lot of what they get up with and what they get away with in the league, I feel like it wouldn't fly here, because I saw it in Rayo versus Crystal Palace, that the roughness from the corners, that was getting penalised by UEFA. So I thought same is probably going to happen here. I don't think it happened so much on the corners, but other places, time wasting, the things like that, they were pushing back on. You know, the diving, Noni Madueke, they didn't push back on it when it was against Leverkusen, and he very clearly dived to win them a penalty in the first leg. But here, he's got his arm hooked around Nuno Mendes, and when I saw it initially, because I was watching the game when this happened, is I thought Madueke's getting pressure, he's thinking, he's got his arm around him, and he's thinking, oh, I'm not going to get this to anyone. I'm not going to be able to do anything with this. I'm going to fall. And because he falls, Nuno Mendes, who's putting the pressure on him, now is putting the pressure on nothing, because he's fallen like a sack of bricks and he falls too. That's what it looks like to me has happened. And I think that is just very clearly not a penalty. It's just not a penalty. You can't dive like that and get a penalty. At least you shouldn't, because obviously Noni Madueke has been able to get away with things like that so far. And ultimately, this was an amazing hate watch. I remember I said after the Eze miss, I said, you know, best case scenario is Arsenal lose by just missing penalties, not even having them saved, because that'd hurt more. So I was like, that's best case scenario. But obviously beggars can't be choosers. And when I saw Gabriel step up, I said, oh, please let him sky it. Please. And he did. These were the two players probably the two players that I hate the most in the entire world of football, and they were the two to miss. You know, you couldn't want any better. You know, after Eze absolutely snaked us, you know, after he absolutely snaked us to go to Arsenal, that was the retribution. That was the end to the season, Spurs fans needed. And, you know, maybe Frank was right. Eze who? But ultimately, that has been my review of the Champions League final. I would give more, but I didn't watch the full game, but I just wanted to get some thoughts out there. Otherwise, I've got a Spurs video coming up. That should be what would be next. Other than that, I have been on Money Kip, and I'll see all of you next time. Goodbye.